The day Zhu Qingyin got her memory back, I was lying on the sofa using her black card to order a projector. My online cart also held 2 cases of craft beer, a camping set and 3 limited edition figurines. My thumb hadn't even lifted off the confirm payment button when I felt something off in the air. The wrongness was tangible, cold. Not the cold of air conditioning, but the cold of someone staring daggers into the back of your head. I turned around. Zhu Qingyin was sitting at the dining table, a cup of black coffee in her right hand, flipping through a black notebook I'd never seen before with her left. Her posture had changed. For 3 years this woman had slouched on the sofa exactly the way I did, sprawled lazily, feet propped on the coffee table, a bag of chips in her arms. But now she sat with one leg crossed over the other, her back straight, her chin tilted slightly upward. Her aura was sharp enough to chase our cat all the way from the 32nd floor living room to the corner of the balcony. Jiang Yu. The way she said my name had changed too. For the past 3 years, she'd called me Yuj, old Jiang, or you useless loser. But this Jiang Yu carried a temperature of about -40 degrees Celsius. The last thread in my brain, the one called survival instinct, snapped. Zhu Qingyan? She lifted her eyes to look at me. I knew those eyes better than anything. For 3 years when they looked at me, they usually held anger after I ditched her in a game, or dazed confusion after too many skewers and beer. But now those eyes were terrifyingly lucid. So lucid that 5 words were clearly written in them. You are dead meat. You know, my voice was dry, like I had a brick stuck in my throat. You remember? Zhu Qingyin set down her coffee and tapped the cover of the black notebook with her finger. 3 years. Her voice was steady and unhurried. 7,320,000. That's the total amount you've spent for my card while I had no idea who I was. She flipped to the first page. September 17, 2021. Online shopping platform. 1 gaming console worth 23,000 yuan. Note, split with the brothers. She looked up. Where's your half? I stepped back. December 3, 2021. Offline purchase. 5-person room at an esports hotel, 3 nights in a row. No, gaming session with the boys. She looked up again. Was I one of your boys? My back pressed flat against the living room wall. April 2022. Wait. I pressed my palms together, my knees already starting to buckle. President Zhu, I can explain. Explain? She closed the notebook and stood up. At 172 centimeters tall, she walked over in house slippers, her steps unhurried. But every step landed right on my heart. She stopped a meter in front of me. Go on then, explain. She tilted her head, a smile playing on her lips but frost in her eyes. Last year, you taught me how to trash talk in games. What did that line mean? Even your mom can't save you now. I swallowed hard. And when you were drinking with Zhao Tiju, you said right in front of me, my wife's such an ice queen. My bro Juyan is way easier to get along with. She took a step forward. That bro Juyan you were talking about? That's your wife. And your wife remembers everything now. She bit off the last 3 words sharply. I glanced toward the balcony. 32nd floor. Jumping would kill me. I glanced toward the front door. What are you looking at? Her voice came from behind me, soft enough to be scary. If you can make it to the elevator, I'll call it a win. I believed her. Truly believed her. Because for 3 years that's how things had always worked between us. Whoever lost bought the next round. I turned and ran. Then I ran straight into Zhou Jin, who was standing right by the door. Zhou Jin, Zhu Qingyan's personal secretary, was in a crisp suit, holding a briefcase to her chest, looking at me with an expression that said, finally, you're getting what you deserve. Mr. Jiang. She stepped aside, revealing what was behind her. My suitcase. It had already been brought up. President Ji said. Zhou Jin's face was impassive. You're not going anywhere tonight. She paused, then added, I've been keeping track for you these past 3 years. Every last cent. The door clicked shut behind me. The sound of the lock sliding home was as crisp as a coffin nail driving into the ground. It all started 3 years ago. I'm Jiang Yu, an internet operations manager making $12,000 a month. My biggest goal in life was playing a couple rounds of games after work and hitting the barbecue stalls on weekends. How did I end up tangled up with Ju Qingyan, the empress of the business world? Long story. Short version, I was drowning in debt. Not online loans. My dad, Old Man Jiang, had lost money on a business deal and owed the Gu family a favor. I never found out exactly what kind, but it was big enough that my dad knelt down and kowtowed to the old Mrs. Ju right in front of me. Old Mrs. Ju Qingyan's grandmother, looked me over and asked, "Young man, are you single?" I said yes. She said, "My granddaughter's 24 and refuses to date. The family's on her case about it. Marry her, give the outside world something to talk about, and get divorced after 3 years. As for payment, your dad's debt is wiped clean, and you get 5 million yuan to start over." 5 million. I made 12,000 a month, saving every cent. It would take me 34 years. I looked at my dad's weathered face, then thought about the 5 million. Deal. Just like that, I married a woman I'd never met. I met Ju Qingyan for the first time on the day we got our marriage license. How to describe her? I walked into the living room of the Gu mansion, saw a woman sitting on the sofa, and my first thought wasn't she's beautiful, it was did I walk onto the wrong set? 172 centimeters tall, in a black tailored suit dress, hair pulled back perfectly. The exact same expression as a bank teller about to say next please. She glanced at me. Just one glance. That look translated to human words. "So you're the $5 million placeholder?" I gave her a look right back. "Yep, that's me, the $5 million placeholder." "Got a problem?" "A marriage of convenience. We kept to our own lanes. She took the master bedroom on the 32nd floor. I took the guest room. After signing a stack of NDAs, we barely interacted at all. She worked late building her business empire. I worked 9 to 5 writing my operation plans. We saw each other less than 3 times a month, each meeting under 5 minutes, consisting of things like, "I'm done with the bathroom and the milk expired, throw it out." Perfect. Until day 37. That day I got home at 2 a.m. after working overtime, and the living room light was still on when I walked in. Ju Qingyan was sitting on the sofa, wearing a white t-shirt, clearly mine, staring blankly into space, clutching a set of keys in her hand. "Ju Qingyan." She turned to look at me. There was nothing in those eyes. Not the cold "you're beneath me" look from before, just empty. "Who are you?" she asked. I thought she was half asleep and talking nonsense. "Me? The placeholder from your marriage agreement." "Agreement?" She frowned. "What agreement?" Then she looked down at the white t-shirt she was wearing, then around at the unfamiliar living room, a look of pure confusion crossing her face. "Where am I?" My first thought, she's pranking me. My second thought, call someone. The Gu family reacted way more than I expected. Half an hour later, 3 vans pulled up downstairs, and a swarm of people in white coats rushed up to examine her. The diagnosis, retrograde amnesia caused by residual effects of a car accident. She forgot who she was. Forgot she was the CEO of GU Group. Forgot about our agreement. Even forgot how to use chopsticks. Old Mrs. Gu rushed over that night, took my hand warmly and said, "Xiaojiang, I'm so sorry to ask this, but just treat her like an amnesiac roommate. Okay? We'll double your original pay. You're free to go once she recovers. 10 million. I glanced over at the woman in the living room, staring around blankly, and trying to open the fridge with a TV remote. Deal. That was the second fatal mistake of my life. The first was agreeing to the marriage. Amnesiac Ju Qingyan was a completely different creature from before. The old her, custom suits every time she went out, talked like she was giving a press conference. One look could make an intern quit on the spot. The new her wandered around the house in my old t-shirts, touched everything she saw, would squat and wah. Chia our cat for half an hour, and her eyes lit up like floodlights the first time she tried spicy strips. The first week I kept my distance. "Ms. Gu, here's your breakfast, Ms. Gu, is there anything you need today? Ms. Gu, Can you stop calling me Ms. Gu? She cut me off, halfway through a spicy strip. Sounds like a bill collector. What should I call you then? She thought for a second. Just my name, Chinyan. She paused, then added, or whatever you want. Just not Miss Ju. Makes me sound old. So starting the second week, I called her Old Ju. Third week, shortened to Ju Zi. Fourth week, Ju bro, you're blocking my screen. She just said, oh, picked up her instant noodles and squatted down next to me to watch me play games. What's this? League of Legends. Can I play? Do you know how? Teach me. I taught her. Looking back, that was the third fatal mistake of my life. Because from that day on, everything spiraled completely out of control. Ju Chinyan, former CEO of GU Group, business empress worth tens of billions, in her amnesiac state, was slowly turned by me into a gaming addict who stayed at internet cafes till 3 a.m., a heavy drinker who'd throw up at barbecue stalls, a trash talker so vicious the entire enemy team would report her, and every last bit of it was paid for with her no-limit black card. When did I start using her card? Probably the third month. My gaming mouse broke that day, and I happened to have the supplementary card she'd given me to sign for packages. I'll cover it first. Pay her back later. One mouse. 230 yuan. Then the fourth month, the keyboard that went with the mouse needed replacing too. Mechanical keyboard, blue switches. 1,800 yuan. Fifth month, this setup didn't match my monitor anymore. Gaming monitor. 4,500 yuan. Sixth month. Old Jang. Zhao Tiju stared at my wall full of gaming gear one day, his voice trembling. You paid for all this with your amnesiac roommate's card? Does she know? Of course she knows, I said confidently. She even helped me pick the colors. Zhao Tiju went silent for 3 seconds. You're so dead. Dead my ass, I leaned back in my chair. She doesn't remember who she is. Doesn't remember she's rich. And that card has no spending limit anyway. When she gets her memory back, I'll just pay her back. No big deal. Can you even pay it back? I'll figure it out when the time comes. Zhao Tuju went silent again for 3 seconds. When I burn offerings for you, should I throw in some hell money? Game gift cards too? I whacked him in the face with my mouse pad. But as it turned out, Zhao Tiju was right. It wasn't about how much money I'd spent. It was about the things I'd done, way worse than just swiping her card. Like, once my coworkers dragged me to KTV after a team dinner. I had no one else to bring, so I took Ju Qingyan with me. When we got to the table, I introduced her. This is my roommate, Ju Yan. My coworkers stared at this 172-centimeter roommate with features sharp enough to be on a magazine cover.
Damn.
Old Jiang, is your roommate a model? Nah, she's unemployed, I said casually. Ju Qingyan didn't react at all. She was too busy studying the buttons on the microphone. Then she picked up the mic and started singing along to the lyrics on screen. She was tone deaf. Epically, mind-blowingly tone deaf. It wasn't just slightly off-key, it was off-key enough to be in a whole different parallel universe. My coworkers' expressions went from awe to terror in less than 3 seconds. But Ju Qingyan was having the time of her life, belting out song after song at the top of her lungs. By the end, the intern next to me leaned over and whispered, Brother, Jiang is your roommate. You know, ... double quotes, he tapped the side of his head. I was quiet for a second. Yeah. A little. How did that story end? Well, one day Ju Qingyan got her memory back and remembered that scene perfectly, including how the KTV lights hit my face right as I said, yeah, a little. She saw every bit of it. That incident was number 17 on her settling scores list. The most cringeworthy social death moment happened the second year. By then I'd completely let my guard down. It wasn't that I was shameless, it was that amnesiac Ju Qingyan was just so easy to get along with. No airs, no attitude. She was happier eating street food than Michelin-starred meals, and she got excited about everything I taught her. And she had one quirk. She didn't remember social norms. She had no concept of inappropriate or embarrassing. So when I said, come on, I'm taking you to an internet cafe today, she just came along. She was in an oversized hoodie, hair messily tied in a bun, no makeup on. And even so, 3 whole rows of people turned to look when we walked in. Stop staring. I pulled her down into a seat. Focus. I'm teaching you a new champion today, okay? She sat up straight and pulled her hood up. A guy next to us leaned over. Dude, is that your girlfriend? I was busy making her an account, didn't look up. Nah, she's my bro. Guy? Ju Qingyan played right along. Yep, his bro. What seat are you at? We should queue up together later. And just like that, Ju Qingyan became a familiar face at every internet cafe in the area. The guy at the front desk called her brother Gu. The barbecue stall owner down the street called her boss Ju. Even the old guys at the chess room next door knew her, called her little Gu. And I was the one who came up with her game ID lonely empty cold. Yep, that one. Once Jojin came by the apartment to drop off documents, and saw Ju Qingyan leaning over the computer yelling, "Hit him! Hit him! Don't overextend." With that glowing ID on screen, lonely empty cold, Jojin dropped the files in her hands. Her knees buckled. She grabbed the doorframe and said, "I was never here. I saw nothing." Then she turned and left. But none of that was the worst of it. The most fatal incident happened 2 years and 7 months into our marriage agreement. It was Zhao Tiju's birthday, and a bunch of us guys were going out drinking. Ju Qingyan insisted on coming. Girls shouldn't come to this, Zhao Tiju hinted over the phone. Relax, it's just my roommate. You've met her. She's basically one of the guys. Zhao Tiju went silent for 5 seconds. Fine. Don't blame me when you get yourself killed. So that night, at a barbecue stall in Chaoyang district, a table full of guys plus Ju Qingyan. She was wearing my old jersey with my nickname Lang Liang printed on the back. Her face glistening with sweat, going shot for shot with Zhao Tiju on her 4th beer. After a few rounds, the conversation naturally turned to women. Old Jiang, what's your contract wife actually like? Zhao Tiju asked. I chugged some beer. Don't even get me started. Total ice queen. How icy. Like, I gestured with my chopsticks. One look from her and you feel like you owe her 3 million yuan. Next to me, Ju Qingyan chewed on a lamb skewer and listened intently. Then why don't you get divorced? The agreement isn't up yet, I sighed. And honestly, my bro here is way easier to get along with than my wife, I said, patting Ju Qingyan on the shoulder. She turned to look at me, chili oil at the corner of her mouth. What? Praising you, I said. Said you're 10,000 times better than my wife. Duh, she said casually, clinking her beer bottle against mine. Your wife won't drink with you. I will. Zhao Tiju sat across from us, looking like he'd just swallowed a live toad whole. That look translated to, dude, you're sitting right next to your wife, complaining about your wife to your wife. Are you actually suicidal, or did you just fill your head with cement? But I was too drunk to pick up on his hints. I just kept going. I rambled on, my wife's always making me sign papers. This document today, that one tomorrow. I'm her husband, not her damn secretary. Ju Qingyan nodded. Sounds really annoying. Zhao Tiju's chopsticks snapped clean in half. Right down the middle. Crack. Later Zhao Tiju cornered me in the bathroom, face twisted. Jiang Yu, are you tired of living? Do you have any idea what you just did out there? Eating skewers? You were trash-talking your wife to her face. She doesn't remember she's my wife. She will remember, sooner or later. I always thought Zhao Tiju was just drunk and overreacting that day. Looking back now, he was probably just scared for me, ahead of time. Because that incident after Ju Qingyan got her memory back, was number 3 on her list. The top 2 were taught her to say your whole family is just supports in-game, and took her to the barbecue stall under her own office building and brewed out with the security guards. There were actually signs that Ju Qingyan's memory was coming back. I just chose not to see them. The first sign was at the start of the 3rd year. I was gaming in the living room when she walked out of the bedroom holding a document. Old Jiang. What's this character say? She pointed at a spot on the page. I leaned over to look. GU Group, private placement. I read a couple words. Where'd you dig this stuff up? Top shelf of the bookcase. Don't bother with that stuff, it's deadly boring. I took the document from her. Come on, let's play a couple ranked games. She looked at me. That look lasted about 2 seconds. It wasn't her usual curious blank stare. There was something else in there. But only 2 seconds. Then she said, "Oh," and sat down next to me. The second sign came 2 months later. I took her to the mall, on her card of course, and she stopped in front of a suit shop. In the window hung a black tailored suit dress. She stared at that suit for a long time. "Wanna try it on?" I asked. "No," she shook her head and walked on. But I noticed her fingers twitch slightly, a tiny habit she'd had before losing her memory. I thought it was just a coincidence. The third sign, and the last one, was the day before her memory came back. I got home late from work that night, opened the door, and found her sitting alone in the dark living room. No lights on, no TV. Only the glow of the city outside lit up her face.
What's wrong?
Bad dream? I turned on the light. She turned to look at me. There was something so complicated in her eyes. "Jiang Yu," she said. "Not old Jiang, not loser Jiang Yu. What's up?" She opened her mouth like she was about to say something, then stopped. Finally she said nothing. "Go to bed. You should get some sleep too," I said, then went to my room. If I'd just asked one more question then, even one, everything that happened after might have been different. But I didn't, because I have this flaw. I selectively ignore any sign that might make a relationship complicated. The next morning, I woke up as usual, planning to go game in the living room. When I opened the door, I saw Zhu Qingyin sitting at the dining table. A slim-fit black suit dress, hair pulled back perfectly, makeup flawless, a cup of black coffee next to her hand, and a black notebook. And that look, the look of Zhu Qingyin, CEO of Zhu Group, a look I hadn't seen in 3 years. I knew right then. The game was over. "Sit." Zhu Qingyin nodded at the chair across from her. I didn't sit. More accurately, my legs were turning to jelly. But I didn't dare let her see. "Zhu, call me what?" She cut me off, raising an eyebrow. "What did you used to call me? Old Gu, Guzi, or ... brother Gu?" She enunciated each word of brother Zhu. Slowly, a smile playing at her lips. That smile made sweat drip straight down my spine, all the way to my waistband. I cleared my throat. "Actually, here's the thing, no rush." She picked up her coffee and took a sip. "We'll go through them one by one." She flipped open the notebook. Zhou Jin had prepared it for her. It detailed everything I'd done over the past 3 years, organized chronologically. Every purchase. Every cringeworthy thing I'd said. Every time I'd gotten her into trouble. 300 pages. A4 size. Double-sided. I stared at the thickness of the notebook and swallowed hard. Item 1. Zhu Qingyin flipped to the first page, her voice steady. September 2021. You got a supplementary card under my name? Reason: buying daily necessities for roommate. Total spending on that card over 3 years, 7.32 million yuan. Gaming. Gear, 31%. Figurines and collectibles, 24%. Food and drink, mostly barbecue and hot pot, minus 18%. She closed that page. "I have a question." "What is it?" "Were you starved to death in your past life?" My lips twitched. Item 2. She kept flipping. "The in-game ID you made for me, lonely, empty, cold. Explain what that's supposed to mean." "That ... I just picked it randomly ... randomly." She repeated it, nodding. "Then why didn't you name yourself that?" "Because my ID is Gale Force Swordsman. You're Bronze 3 and you call yourself Gale Force Swordsman." I shut up. Item 3. Her finger tapped a page and her voice suddenly softened. The eerie calm before a storm. "August 13th last year at the barbecue stall. You said," she read it out loud, word for word. "My Ice Queen wife is nothing compared to my bro Ju Yan. Way easier to get along with." The room went silent for about 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds my whole life flashed before my eyes. I saw elementary school, my first love, my mom, my unpaid salary. "Explain." She closed the notebook, folded her hands on top of it, and tilted her chin up slightly. I took a deep breath. And knelt. Knees on the floor, palms pressed together. "President Zhu, Your Highness, boss, I'm sorry. I was wrong. You know what you did wrong? Everything. I've been wrong since the day I was born. She stared at me on my knees for 2 seconds. Then she stood up, pulled a stack of printed A4 papers from the cabinet beside her, and dropped them in front of me. I glanced down. Repayment agreement. Party A, Ju Qingyan. Party B, Jiang Yu. Total amount owed, 7,320,000 yuan. Repayment method. Installments over 50 years. Interest rate, 36% per annum. Note: if Party B defaults, Party A reserves the right to claim additional compensation for emotional distress, with no upper limit. I looked up at her. She looked down at me, smiling elegantly, calmly. The smile of a predator who just stepped over its prey. Sign it. She held out a pen. 50 years? 36% annual interest? My voice shook. Ju Qingyan, this is loan sharking. What? She tilted her head. You want to negotiate? She pulled a printed screenshot out of the notebook. It was my in-game chat log. That day I'd been playing ranked, my teammates were terrible. And I'd typed in all chat. If we lose this, I'll leak my wife's black card number so you all can top up. I had definitely typed that. Ju Qingyan had been sitting right next to me back then. She'd glanced over and asked, "Who's your wife?" I'd said some ice queen monster. She'd just said oh, and landed a last hit for me. That incident was number 2 on the list. I signed the repayment agreement. Without much hesitation. Because as I signed, I caught a glimpse of a red note on one open page of the notebook. First time she smiled was when I took her to the internet cafe. Note: a real smile. It wasn't my handwriting. It was Zhou Jin's. Underneath was a smaller line. In 3 years, President Zhu has only smiled around Mr. Jiang. My hand holding the pen paused. Then I kept signing. After I signed, I thought it was over. I'd already signed away 50 years of my life. Well, a repayment agreement. What else could happen? I found out soon enough. Plenty else could happen. After getting her memory back, Ju Qingyan didn't move out. And she didn't make me move out. She went back to work at GU Group. That's right, the long-lost CEO was back. But every evening after work, she still came back to this 32nd floor apartment. Only our dynamic had completely changed. Before, I'd lie on the sofa gaming. She'd squat next to me watching. I'd yell, "Get me a glass of water," and she'd go get it. Now, she sat on the sofa going through documents. I stood beside her holding a glass of water. Jiang Yu, present. Turn to page 37 for me. Right away, President Zhu. Coffee, coming. Wrong temperature. Make it again. ... Yes. When Zhao Tiju came over, he witnessed all this. He watched me carefully serving coffee and bending to hand over documents, and said nothing for a long time. Dude, he said, smoking on the balcony. Your situation right now ... Don't. When you were calling her brother Zhu, did you ever see this coming? I said don't. When you called her an ice queen monster to her face. Xiao Tiju, you got a death wish? Xiao Tiju put out his cigarette. After a moment of silence he lowered his voice. Honestly, if she really wanted to ruin you, she wouldn't keep you around. I froze. Think about it. 7 million is nothing to her, just dust under her nails. If she cared about the money, she'd just send a lawyer's letter. Why bother with a 50-year agreement? What are you saying? Xiao Tiju gave me a complicated look. Forget it, he waved a hand. If you were smart enough to figure this out, you wouldn't have treated her like your bro for 3 years. After he left, I stood on the balcony thinking for a long time. Thinking about those 3 years. About all her smiles when she had amnesia. The smile when she choked on beer at the barbecue stall but kept on drinking. The smile when she got a pentakill at the internet cafe and jumped up to high-five me. The smile at 3 a.m. when we sat on the balcony eating instant noodles, and she said, "This feels so nice looking at the city lights." Those smiles had been real. Even when she didn't know who she was, they'd been real. Then I thought about that night, the day before her memory came back, when she'd sat alone in the dark. Called my name, Jiang Yu. Like she had something to say but didn't. Had she already been getting her memory back then? Had she wanted to tell me something? Like I'm starting to remember. Or thanks for these 3 years. Or even what were these 3 years anyway? I don't know. Because all I'd said was you should get some sleep too and close the door. The shift happened in the third week. That night I was warming milk in the kitchen. Yeah, I do all the housework now. Including but not limited to cooking, dishes, moppy, Angie's scooping her cat's litter, and when I brought the milk to her, she was sitting cross-legged on the sofa going through documents. Your milk, leave it. I set the glass down and turned to leave. Wait. I stopped. Sit here. She nodded at the other end of the sofa. I sat. We were quiet for about a minute. Then she said suddenly, I remember when you taught me to play games. My stomach dropped. You were more excited than I was about my first pentakill. She didn't look up from her papers. You jumped out of your chair and hit your head on the ceiling of the internet cafe. The ceiling was kind of low. You had a bump on your head, but you still grabbed my hand and spun me around 3 times outside the cafe. I said nothing. And at the barbecue stall, she flipped a page. You always pick the chili peppers off for me. You thought I didn't notice. You don't like spicy? I didn't like spicy before I lost my memory. She finally looked up at me. After I lost my memory, you wouldn't let me eat it. Said your body can't handle spicy food. I opened my mouth but couldn't say anything. And another thing, she closed the documents. Every time I zoned out in the living room at night, you'd come check on me. You thought you were quiet, but I heard the door every time. She lowered her legs and sat up straight. Looked at me. This time there was no ice in her eyes, no menace, no predatory sharpness. Just looking. Jiangyu, yeah. Why were you nice to me back then? The question hit me like a brick. Why? Because I was getting paid. At first, yeah. But later? Later she'd sit alone in the dark at night, like a lost little animal who didn't know who she was. Later, the first time she tried barbecue, her eyes lit up and said, What is this? It's so good. Later she fell asleep on my shoulder, her phone slipping from her hand, and I'd picked it up and turned the screen off.
Later. No reason, I said.
I just liked you that way. She looked at me quietly for 5 seconds. Then she picked up the remote and turned on the TV. Switched to the gaming channel. Go get the controllers, she said, huh? You. Deaf controllers? You wanna play games? Didn't you read the 50-year agreement? Party B shall accompany Party A in recreational activities upon request. I blinked. That clause was definitely there. I'd signed too fast to read it carefully. Go on, she urged. I went to get the controllers. When I sat back down, there was about half an arm's length between us. For 3 years we'd played shoulder to shoulder. Now I didn't dare. But once the game started, she got stuck on the 3rd level. How did you get past this? She asked. Press no, that button, move over. I reached for her controller. And just like that, naturally, exactly the way we'd sat for 3 years, we ended up shoulder to shoulder. By the time I realized, she was looking at me. We were so close I could see the curve of her eyelashes. You just, she said. I jolted back a whole 2 feet away, my back hitting the armrest. I didn't mean to reflex 3 years of muscle memory. She ignored my explanation, picked up her milk, took a sip, and went back to the game. But there was a tiny, almost imperceptible curve at the corner of her mouth. So small I almost thought I'd imagined it. But I hadn't. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling with one single thought. Xiao Tiju was right. 7 million was nothing to her. The 50-year agreement wasn't a punishment. She wasn't out to get me. She was. I rolled over and buried my face in the pillow. I didn't dare finish the thought. Because if I was right, then 3 years of calling her bro, complaining about my wife to her face, gaming so hard I forgot to shower. The level of social mortification would be way worse than 7 million yuan. Zhou Jin asked to talk to me once. We met at the cafe downstairs from her office. She sat across from me, briefcase at her side, looking at me like she'd witnessed the most absurd 3 years in human history. Mr. Jiang's secretary.
Joe.
There's something I'm not sure I should say. Go ahead. These past 3 years. She adjusted her glasses. Every morning I'd bring President Gu her documents. And what would I see? She ticked off points on her fingers. 3 beer bottles on the living room floor. 2 empty bowls of instant noodles on the coffee table. Laundry hanging on the balcony, your underwear and President G's sports tank top on the same line. I swallowed hard. Another time I got there early. President Ju was asleep on the sofa, covered in your jacket, the game still on the TV. And you were snoring next to her. We worked really late that night, Mr. Jiang Zhoujin's expression was eerily calm. Do you know why I never quit these past 3 years? Why? Because I wanted to watch you get what was coming to you. But I've changed my mind. She picked up her coffee. I want to see a different ending. What ending? She took a sip of coffee and set the cup down. Before President Ju lost her memory, she never smiled. Not in meetings. Not when signing contracts. Not even when she made 300 million. After the car accident 3 years ago when she lost her memory, I thought it was a disaster. But those 3 years I saw all the photos and videos you took. She smiled at the barbecue stall. She smiled at the internet cafe. She smiled eating instant noodles on the balcony. She smiled when she got a pentakill. She never smiled like that before. Never. Zhoujin looked at me. So Mr. Jiang, if you still don't get it, I'll say it straight. After getting her memory back, President Ju didn't tear up the agreement. Didn't kick you out. Didn't actually come after the 7 million. She just kept you by her side. For 50 years. With that, she picked up her briefcase and stood up. Before she left, she added, if you keep playing dumb, I really will quit. And I'll never hear another thing about Jiang Yu again. She left. I sat there until my coffee went cold, then finally stood up. All I could think about was that number. 50 years, not a punishment. I pulled out my phone, opened the Notes app, and scrolled to the very bottom. There was an entry dated a year ago. It read, today old G said she wished someone would treat her the way I do. I said she was crazy, that I was nothing but trouble for her. She said, yeah, but you're the one causing trouble. And that's fine. I'd thought it was just drunk talk back then. Now looking back, I think what she meant was, she didn't care if other people were nice to her. If I was the one giving her a hard time, she'd take it. I stood outside the cafe holding my phone for a long time. Then I made a call. Zhao Tiju. What? Come with me to buy something. What a ring. There was 3 seconds of silence on the other end. Then an explosive yell. Jiang Yu, you finally got your head out of your ass. Do you know how long I've waited for this? I bet the security guard at your company $500 you'd wise up this year. $500. I held the phone half a meter away from my ear. Keep it down. I can't, I'm too excited. Wait, I'm on my way right now. He hung up. I stood there and couldn't help smiling a little. Then I immediately regretted it. Because the question hit me. How was I supposed to tell her? Hey bro, no, Ju Chinyan, I think no. So, is there a renewal clause in the agreement? No. I got you a ring. No, it's not for the debt. Even worse. I, Jiang Yu, who could roast strangers in an internet cafe for 30 straight minutes without repeating a line, was standing outside the cafe, my face burning like a boiled shrimp. I stood there for half an hour clutching the ring box. Zhao Tiju had helped me pick it out. Had better taste than me, my palms sweaty with nerves. When I unlocked the door, the living room light was on. Zhu Qingyan was sitting on the sofa. She wasn't in a suit. She was wearing my old t-shirt. The same one she'd worn on her first day with amnesia. 2 bowls of instant noodles steamed on the coffee table in front of her. 2 cans of beer beside them. The TV was on the gaming channel. I froze in the doorway for 2 seconds. She glanced over. You're back? Want some noodles? Yeah. I walked over and sat down next to her. We were close, face to face. She picked up her chopsticks and took a bite. I picked up mine too. We ate a couple bites, neither of us speaking. On the 3rd bite, I put my chopsticks down. Zhu Qinjin, I have something for you. She put down her chopsticks and looked at me. I pulled the box out of my pocket and opened it. The ring glinted in the light. She stared at the ring, then at me. What's this for? I took a breath. It's just, I fumbled for words. I called you bro for 3 years. But I think, from now on, we could. I was terrible with words. Could what? She looked at me, her expression unchanged, but there was a spark in her eyes. We could call each other something else. Like what? Like, wife? She finished for me. My mouth fell open. She reached out, took the ring from the box, and put it on herself. Left ring finger. Quick and sure. You didn't get me a ring when we got the license 3 years ago. She flexed her fingers, admiring the ring. Now we're even. I froze. What did you think? She picked up a beer, popped the tab, and clinked it against mine. You think I signed that 50-year agreement just for fun? She took a sip of beer. I noticed it back when you picked the chili peppers off my food. When I had amnesia, I didn't know what that feeling was. Once I got my memory back, I did. She set the beer down and leaned back against the sofa. But I had to make you sweat a little. Serves you right for calling me bro for 3 years. I sat there, my mind going completely blank. Then, you called me an ice queen monster at the barbecue stall that day. I was wrong. You named my game ID Lonely Empty Cold. I was wrong. You told Zhao Tiju right in front of me that your bro was easier to get along with than your wife. I was wrong. I was totally wrong. So how are you gonna make it up to me? Anything. 50 years ISN. Enough. She turned her head and smiled at me. That smile had no ice. No menace. Just how to put it. It was the same smile as when she choked on beer but kept drinking. The same smile as when she jumped up to high-five me after a pentakill. The same smile as when we ate instant noodles on the balcony at 3 a.m., watching the city lights. Only this time, she knew who she was. And she knew who I was. Make it 100 years then, I said. She froze for a second, then turned her face away, pretending to reach for the remote. But the tips of her ears were red. I saw it, clear as day. Zhu Qingyan, CEO of GU Group, Empress of the business world, worth tens of billions, had red ears. This was probably the biggest win of my entire life, Jiang Yu's life. Better than a pentakill. Better than free barbecue. Better than... Keep staring and I'll double the debt. She didn't turn around, her voice muffled. Alright, I'll stop. But I couldn't stop smiling. I really couldn't. Outside the window the city lights blazed. The game footage looped on TV. Steam curled up from the 2 bowls of noodles on the coffee table. I reached for my beer, then put it down. Instead, I reached over and took her hand. She didn't pull away, didn't look at me, but her fingers tightened, lacing through mine. And just like that, 3 years of being brothers turned into a lifetime. Pretty good deal, all things considered. This warm story centers on a contractual marriage. To pay off his family's debt, the male lead entered a 3-year nominal marriage with a cold female CEO. After a car accident left her with amnesia, she lost her stern aura and became playful and casual. The male lead took good care of her, casually spending from her supplementary card and treating her like a close friend. Regaining her memory, the CEO seemed to punish him with a huge repayment contract, yet she secretly loved him. Through their bickering, they saw each other's true hearts, the hero's 3 years of sincere companionship, and her hidden softness beneath harshness. The story teaches us love has nothing to do with status gaps. Warm daily companionship is most precious. Never judge people by their public personas. Only sincerity and cherishing allow us to discover the tender love hidden behind a tough exterior.